You have a service treatment note from 2012, a civilian appointment from 2017, a prescription history from 2019, and a family member saying you have not been the same since you came home. All of it may matter to understanding your history, but right now, it is a pile of dates, not a timeline. Today, we're going to turn that pile into a clearer set of facts, memories, and questions. Welcome to the Veteran Benefits Reset Podcast, where we help veterans and their families better understand the VA disability benefits process one step at a time. I am your host, Cameron Burrell, a U.S. Army veteran and founder of VetBiz Media. My view is simple. Before you collect 10 more records, make the records you already have understandable. A timeline will not decide a claim, but it can reveal sequence, contradictions, and unanswered questions. This is an independent educational resource, not individualized legal or medical advice. For questions about your specific circumstances, verify current information through official VA resources and consider speaking with a VA-accredited veteran service organization, claims agent, or attorney. Every veteran's records and history are different, so our goal today is not to force a conclusion. It is to make your own history easier to review. Let us use a composite example. We will call him Marcus. During service, Marcus has a note about back pain after lifting equipment. Around separation, the records become thinner. Years later, a civilian note says he is having trouble standing at work. Much later, his spouse describes difficulty sleeping and getting through ordinary activities at home. Marcus may have records in several systems, and each document may use different language. The timeline does not tell Marcus what the answer will be. It tells him which events happened when, what is actually documented, and what deserves a closer look. A useful timeline usually moves through 5 broad periods. Start with service. Look for assignments, duties, training, deployments, injuries, symptoms, evaluations, medications, or treatment as documented in military records. Ask yourself, what does the record actually say? And where did it come from? Do not decide what every entry means yet. First, locate it in time. Then look at the transition out of service. Was there a separation examination? A change in medication? A conversation about symptoms? A first civilian appointment after returning home? Sometimes the transition period is not neatly documented. That does not mean you should fill in the blanks. It means you should mark what is known and what still needs verification. Next comes the early post-service period. Include treatment, if there was any, but also consider work changes, sleep, movement, daily routines, and moments when a family member noticed something different. A person may have avoided treatment because of cost, access, statewide, work demands, or simply not knowing where to turn. Avoiding treatment is not the same as having no symptoms, but the timeline should record that history honestly and neutrally. After that, trace ongoing treatment, follow-up visits, diagnoses as recorded, referrals, therapy, medications, procedures, provider changes, and periods described as better or worse. Finally, capture current status. What treatment is happening now? What symptoms are you experiencing now? What effects on work, relationships, sleep, movement, or daily activities are documented or being reported? These 5 periods are not legal categories. They are shelves that keep a long history from becoming one giant pile. Now let us build one actual row. March 12, 2012. Source, Service Treatment Record. The record states, low back pain after lifting equipment. Functional effect documented. Limited bending for 3 days. Veteran recalls. The pain continued after field training. Question to verify. Is there a follow-up note, duty restriction, or later reference nearby? Notice what this example does not do. It does not announce a diagnosis that the record does not contain, and it does not turn one entry into a prediction. A simple entry can include the date, the source, the event documented, symptoms or diagnoses as recorded, a functional effect, and a question to verify. You can use a notebook, a spreadsheet, or a blank document. The technology does not matter much. Consistency matters more. Keep the original records separate and unchanged. Your timeline is an index to the records, not a replacement for them. There is one date problem worth catching early. The date a document was created may not be the date the event occurred. A medical note created on April 10th might describe an appointment on April 8th. A later summary might describe something from years earlier. When you can, label both dates. If you cannot tell, write that the date is uncertain. Do not quietly turn an estimated date into a definite one. This is also where people can get into trouble, not because they are trying to be dishonest, but because memory and paperwork start blending together. Try separating 3 kinds of information. First, what a record states. For example, the treatment note records shoulder pain and limited range of motion. Second, what the veteran recalls. The veteran recalls that the pain began during field training. Third, what requires professional assessment, such as a medical question about diagnosis or a legal question about how evidence relates to a benefit. Those categories can sit next to each other, but they should not be disguised as one another. A memory can be important without being presented as a document. A document can be important without answering every question, and a question can be worth asking without assuming the answer. Phrases such as record states, veteran recalls, family member reports, and question to verify help keep the timeline honest. Facts over frustration means giving yourself room to understand what is known, what is remembered, and what still needs review. As you organize, gaps will appear. Maybe there are no treatment records for several years. Maybe a provider closed an office. Maybe employment records show a job change but do not explain it. Maybe a family member remembers a difficult period that does not appear in a medical chart. A gap is incomplete information. It is not automatically proof that something did not happen, and it is not automatically proof that it did. When you find a gap, record the gap. You might write, "No records currently located between 2015 and 2018. Then list possible places to check: an old provider, pharmacy, employer, insurance portal, family archive, or personal calendar. If you remember something that is not documented, label it as memory. Never alter the original record to make the story look smoother. A cleanly marked unknown is more useful than a confident assumption." And take care of yourself while doing this. Revisiting service, medical, or employment history can bring up difficult feelings. You do not have to organize everything in one sitting. Pause, involve a trusted family member or support person if that helps, and return to it later. The purpose of a timeline is clarity. It should not require you to push through distress without support. Let us make the first step small. Grab a sheet of paper or open a blank document. Choose one condition or one period of your history, not your entire life, not every record you have ever received, just one manageable starting point. Now select 3 documents. They could be a service treatment note, a civilian medical record, a prescription history, an employment document, or a statement from someone who observed a change. Put the oldest event first. For each document, write the event date if it is available, the document date if it is different, the source, and one sentence that begins, "The record states." Then add a separate sentence beginning, "The veteran recalls," if there is relevant memory. Finish with one question: what needs to be verified? You are not deciding whether the documents are enough. You are practicing a clearer way to look at them. When the 3 entries are finished, look across them. Do they show a change in treatment, medication, provider, work, or daily activity? Does one document refer to an earlier event? Do the records disagree about a date? Or are they simply too limited to answer the question? Write the observation, then write the question. For example, records show treatment in 2012 and again in 2017. What information might explain the period between those visits? That question is useful. Declaring what the gap means would go beyond the records. This is where the timeline becomes more than a list. It becomes a conversation tool. Bring it, along with the underlying records, to a VA-accredited veteran service organization, claims agent, or attorney when appropriate. Ask which questions are medical, which are legal, which records may be relevant, and which official VA resources should be checked. An accredited representative may help explain options that depend on your circumstances. Your timeline prepares you for professional review. It does not replace it. So, before you collect another box of paperwork, make the history you already have easier to see. Start with service, transition, early post-service years, ongoing treatment, and current status. For each entry, identify the dates, source, documented event, recorded symptoms or diagnosis, functional effect, and question to verify. Separate records from memories and professional interpretations. Mark gaps honestly. Most important, start small. Before the next episode, set a timer for 5 minutes. Choose one condition or period, gather 3 documents, and create 3 timeline entries. If you finish early, add 1 question to verify through official VA information or with an accredited representative. You do not need a perfect file today. 1 step, 1 record, 1 mission. Stay organized, stay informed, stay ready. Thanks for listening to the Veteran Benefits Reset podcast. I hope this episode helped you see scattered records in a new way, not as a reason to feel defeated, but as information that can be sorted, labeled, and reviewed carefully. Remember, this podcast is an independent educational resource. It is not legal or medical advice, and it does not replace guidance from an accredited professional. Verify current information through official VA resources and seek appropriate accredited help for questions about your circumstances. If you found today's episode helpful, follow the podcast, leave a review, and share it with another veteran, family member, or caregiver who could benefit. Download the free 7-step Veteran Benefits Reset Guide to help organize your military, medical, employment, and VA records at vetbizmedia.com/veteran7. Thank you for listening to the Veteran Benefits Reset podcast. Your service did not expire. Your story is still worth reviewing. Take the next responsible step.